Political temperatures in the country are rising as a campaigning period approaches, and those who aspire to be elected are declaring their interest in various positions. Our very own David Kigame had a candid conversation with Rueben Kigame, having produced over 29 albums. His music precedes him, having declared his candidature.
With several months to the general elections, various people have come up displaying their interest in various political positions. But one of the most top-eyed seats is Kenya's top seat, the presidency. Joining me right now is one man, famously known as a musician, but a man who also wears many hats you will come to discover. I'm talking about Rueben Kigame. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, it's a good thing to meet you. Yeah, and thanks for welcoming me to Switch TV. Never been here before.
Interesting. And maybe just to go straight to the point,
Right.
Why presidency?
Right now, there is a very big vacuum for alternative leadership. And we've been watching, we've been looking, and we've been trying to see if we could support somebody who could bring alternative change that is more mwananchi-centered. Unfortunately, the same people that have led us to where we are as a country are the ones offering themselves for presidency. And so my friends and family encouraged me to step out and fill that gap to represent the ordinary citizen. You know, politics as is done in Kenya is always the politics of a few families, politics of those with the wealth, politics of those who, you know, have been circulating around the political scene for some time. So you never really get mwananchi's position articulated and defended at the ballot. So I decided to be that alternative voice. For once, Kenyans are going to be treated to a totally different way of doing politics. Clean, you know, value-based. You know, my key thing is integrity. And so I'm going to be pushing a campaign along that side. Never insulting anybody, never, you know, going into all this mudslinging, just the issues that face mwananchi. So I am the voice of the ordinary mwananchi, if you like.
As you come to race for this seat, what is your unique agenda? What are you bringing to the table? Why should Kenyans vote for you? Okay,
so first of all, I would like to bring to the table a candidacy and a quest for presidency that is based on integrity and values. We have become a very valueless society. We have, you know, reduced leadership in Kenya to a negotiated space for a few people who can then keep power to themselves and then use that power to, as it were, kukandamiza, to bring down the citizen. And so I bring to the table a unique emphasis on values. But my big agenda that I'm bringing to the table is a fight against corruption and impunity. That for sure is the one thing, David, that any of my competitors is not going to be willing to do for the citizens of Kenya. Because one, they have been involved in a lot of graft themselves. And then two, even if you listen to them, they'll talk all day long about economic programs, they'll talk about investment, they'll talk about all these other things, except the real big demon in the leadership of Kenya, and that is corruption and impunity. We have become so corrupt that even an 8 or 9-year-old is asking for bribes. We have become so corrupt that as a country, we are losing resources. The president himself confessed this January that we lose about 2 billion per day. And so my approach is what I'm calling, you know, stop the economic hemorrhage, stop the economic bleeding. Let us have, you know, the resources that are getting lost readjusted and refocused on development. So that's the one thing I'm bringing to the table that I am almost sure my competitors will not be willing to do for the citizens of Kenya.
You've mentioned something about the economy and the agenda that is being sold out there. Right now, Kenya is struggling with debt. Maybe what are you thinking to do with debt? How are you thinking you'll deal with debt?
So Kenya's debt is primarily because of mismanagement of our planning, but also because of wanton borrowing. So the government borrows locally from commercial institutions, also borrows from external institutions. The problem is that when all this money is borrowed, that it is spent without accountability and without oversight. And so you have wanton spending on irrelevant projects. The government is constantly investing in projects that, benefit a few that are cronies or those close to power, while all the significant projects of, that are citizen-based are left on the side. So you have wrong priorities. You have all these big infrastructural projects. You have, the Eurobond borrowing instead of more affordable borrowing. So the government borrows. You almost see the government budgeting for corruption. And so the debts are as a result of course, that wanton borrowing and then very, very irrelevant planning.
Are we going to find you in the ballot?
Am I going to be on the ballot? For sure. I'm working towards it. I'm doing everything possible to sustain a clean race until the end.
At one point in time, should we expect you to get into a coalition with one of the big boys, as you say?
Never. Because if by big boys you mean those who have been in government, then I'm not willing, my heart wouldn't be at peace going that direction. And of course, we have to really honor the citizens of this country and not play political games with them. Kenya should not be gambled again. We should never allow that presidential office, the presidential seat, to be gambled among negotiated, families or groups that have brought us to where we are. We need a fresh start. And so what I'm promising is a cleanup, to rebuild Kenya anew so that we have like a blank slate to write on something new. So I'm not willing to enter, coalitions or partnerships with those that have brought us to where they are. Of course, there are wonderful people in government that have not soiled their lives and work. We'll be looking out for those to work with. And so you can be sure there'll be some that we'll be partnering with.
Bwana Kigame, we've seen people come out with good intentions, good agenda that Kenyans bought. But once they got into those positions, they changed.
Yeah.
Are we expecting you to change?
Nobody really knows the future. Maybe that's why some people go into politics without counting the cost. But my faith as a Christian has informed me that I need to be a man of my word. It has also informed me that I should do two things in life, and that is love God and love people. I need to just give you, a back focus here, because a lot of people imagine that because of my strong Christian principle that I would be partisan. No, once you become a president of a nation, you are like a father. Everyone is your child. And so I will be a president not just for Christians, but also for Muslims, for Hindus, and those without faith, atheists and so on. These are all my people. And I will add one thing, even those who don't vote for me, I would still have to serve them like, everybody else that voted for me.
So initially we've had the men of faith, or rather people who walked in the lines of Christianity, stand up for political positions, but it has been noted that they have failed. Very few of them have succeeded, majorly in as much as Kenya is counted to be 85% Christians. Will they vote for you this time?
So that is the one hypocritical thing about the church, and especially those who turn to someone like me and say, Pius Muiru tried and did not make it. You see, they give Pius Muiru a very bad name, which bad name should be given to them, actually, because Pius Muiru offered himself. They did not elect him. And then they turn around and say, he didn't do well. They're actually the ones who didn't elect one of their own.
So who are you banking on to be your greatest supporters come 2022?
In fact, the greatest supporters of a Rueben Kigame presidency, I would say, is Kenya as a whole, because my constituency represents persons living with disability that have been disenfranchised. My constituency also includes Christians across, the country. My constituency includes Muslims that are also interested in good values and good governance. And my constituency also, brings together all those who are tired of, hypocrisy, of corruption, of bad governance. And so when I move across the country, I find Kenyans are so tired. And so it's all inclusive. And then I believe that as a teacher, as a mentor for the youth, as a musician, my constituency also includes young people in the arts, a lot of young people in the college. And so I'm really like a president for everybody. I think they're all safe with me.
Concern among some Kenyans is yourself, you're visually impaired.
Yes.
You need help maybe going around your daily activities. How will you run the country?
That's a very good question, and you shouldn't apologize asking it, because number one, even those in power need help, and they go around the country with a lot of assistance. So whether you're looking at Uhuru Kenyatta or William Ruto, they all have all these assistants around them. They never do everything by themselves. Nobody can do everything for themselves anyway. But I guess by assistance you mean that I'll need somebody to show me how to inspect the guard of honor or where to sign and so on. Well, that even my competitors have people who guide them. But I usually have a nice way of reminding people who ask such questions. Then they've never looked at my wife, because I'll be able to inspect the guard of honor the same way I walked down the aisle and, married a very beautiful woman. So it's and then of course people need to ask themselves, how have I been able as Rueben Kigame to, go to school to the point where I'm doing my PhD? How is it possible for me to, play music instruments, different ones? I mean, it doesn't take like one day to learn. It takes years. And how is it that I was able to set up a radio station and run it for 10 years as a dreamer and manager of it? How is it that I've worked with different institutions, including, media houses like Royal Media, Family FM, Hope Media? How is it I was able to make it? If I can make it in all these things, run a restaurant, a publishing company and all of that, written books, surely it would be expecting too much for the average citizen of Kenya to think that I'm a desperate, person that needs assistance every step of the way. And, how I'm able to use the computer, how I'm able to use the ordinary phone. Life goes on for me. I can actually lead this country. But I needed to tell you something that maybe nobody will tell you. I believe very strongly that probably Kenya needs a blind president. And the reason is, these eyes you see may actually be the reason why we have reached where we are. Because our leaders are full of greed, and part of the greed is really just what you see. You see somebody's shamba, you want it. You see somebody's house, you want it. You see somebody's car, you want it. You see somebody's wife, you want her. So it has become a culture of sight. You see and get and pillage. I think Kenya has come to a point where they probably could make do with a president who thinks and looks with a heart rather than with these eyes. And also, I really believe that where I am today, I am probably the one person that can listen to citizens more than all of these people, because my policies, my time is spent with the people. I've grown in difficulty and challenge. I have lived with the people. I'm not your ordinary, politician that runs around with 5 or 10 helicopters. No, I live with the people. I have seen hunger. I've seen rainy days. My children have lacked school fees, so I understand. So I'm able to bring to the table the citizen, the ordinary citizen.
Bwana Kigame, we have not had you successfully hold any political position before. This is your first time. Do you think you'll survive? You've heard of the system. of the deep state? Are you not threatened?
Well, first of all, if I was threatened, I would not be running. Courage is something that anyone can see. For a blind person to be stepping out right now and talking about, restoring values to a valueless country, I think that is something. You offer yourself and then let the citizens decide. It's not for me to say, you must elect me, okay? So you have your options there and you have me. My only plea is this, that come October 2022, as citizens, we should never then go back again and say, oh, we wish we knew we would have elected somebody different. This is a good opportunity to look at the record of everyone, not just the presidency, but right from the MCAs and other offices. Let's look at at who the person is, the character of the individual. And then let's choose people that we know can truly represent our interests. Let's not again regret in 2022 and following.
Well, you've heard it all from the man who wears many hats, from a teacher to a journalist, and now venturing into politics. That's all we had for you here. I'm David Kagina.
Integrity and values, part of presidential hope for Rueben Kigame's manifesto. Could he be Kenya's fifth president? The answer lies with you, the voter.